Junior Program Officer of the Canada Border Service Agency. Both of them, they were speaking to what Susanna presented earlier. Thank you so much for being here. Right, so we're going to elaborate a little bit more on what Susanna just said. In the STEM Women Annual Report, the first Canada edition, we're also going to present some interesting numbers and questions that come along with it. Yeah, so we're going to take a deeper look into what the report tells us, some questions that it raises, and how the findings can lead us towards a more inclusive and forward-looking Canada. And as well as figuring out whether we are on the right trajectory to foster and provide the STEM talent that Canada will need in the coming years. So I'm Victoria. I am a community leader of the WIIT Hub community. We help women basically get into tech careers. And I have seen these women, way too many talent, facing barrier and not actually being able to work in tech fields. So I'm very happy to help with this or to bring more awareness to this matter. And my name is Julia Kingston, like the city. And I do work at the CPSA, but I'm also an editor and writer, and I was invited to contribute to the STEM Women report as an editor. My background is in cognitive neuroscience and forensic linguistics, so I spent a lot of time thinking about how people learn, communicate, and really make sense of the world. I've always been drawn to how science and language come together to show us really what it means to be human. And I think that also connects nicely to the point that Eva made just a few minutes ago, that really STEM is for everyone, because we're all human at the end of the day. Yeah. All right, so we want to point to this quote or phrase that the STEM journey is not a single point in time. This can mean a couple things. One is an individual trying to get into STEM and work in STEM will take multiple decisions and take a path that swings and have lots of corners and so on. The other thing that it also can refer to is that we measuring what impact or effect programs have to measure multiple times because there's no single point of result. And then lastly, it can also refer to that a program cannot measure their outcome alone to see the overall effect that we have in the STEM environment. So what the STEM, the SWAR report does is to kind of consolidate multiple programs and see how Canada as a whole affect the STEM environment. So you saw this graph from Susanna. This is included in the SWAR, and I wanted to just clarify that when we talk about impact, we talk about an average number of individuals or participants that join the program. So, and we also can look at the two categories that we can separate programs into. One is the inspiration category, which focuses more on targeting the youth, children, and inspiring them. That studies, creating goals, and challenging gender stereotypes. The other category, which is the career segment, focuses more on the more adolescent to adult career professionals and focus more on helping individuals get into STEM careers or retaining them in this field. Oh, and I want you to pay attention to how the number of impacts increases, but there's a sudden drop around the teen years. Keep that in mind as we go forward. So what we found in the SWOT report from analysis is that we have reached 35,000 children in 2024. That's a big number. That's great, right? However, if we look at this number compared to the total population of children living in Canada,
That's less than a percentage. Will this be enough to cover the STEM talent we need in the future? Is another question that follows on from this number. So carrying on the question of reach, it's going to be important for us to look in the future at more closely at the population, how much these STEM learning programs are impacting the population based on population size, province to province. So right now we've looked at how many programs there are in each province, but we're not looking at it yet as a function of population size. And this is going to be really important to look at so that we truly understand whether these programs are in fact reaching the communities that need them the most. And moving forward from that, I'm going to move into our teen years from what Victoria talked about in childhood. So as she just pointed out, we have this drop between about the ages of 10 and 15 years old in girls' participation in STEM. And I think that it's important to make a connection here between that observation and what we also observe with girls often stepping away from sports around the same time. So this window, about 10 to 15, is of course when puberty typically starts. And so this is a time of big changes, emotionally, socially, physically. And this makes life pretty difficult to navigate when you're transitioning from childhood to adulthood. We've all been there. And then, of course, on top of it, the world starts to treat you quite differently. And so the questions that I want to leave you with going forward on this point are there preventable things that are getting in the way of girls' participation in STEM during this window? And what can programs and initiatives start doing to really support girls in STEM through this vulnerable time, just as we might do with sports? And finally, the last finding that I want to draw your attention to is that we found that 65% of the programs that we surveyed are currently looking for volunteers. And the reason I want to draw your attention to this is because, for me anyway, it raises a number of questions. Of course, the first one is, why is there this deficiency in volunteers in the first place? But more specifically, is there a discrepancy? What does it look like between volunteer positions and paid positions in these programs and initiatives? What's the ratio there? Are the volunteer positions, in fact, working for the people that are filling those positions, especially if they are women themselves? And we're going to need to, I think, look at this further, because I think that this could be a point of weakness, unfortunately, for Canada in its STEM landscape and how it's supporting the STEM ecosystem globally if we're not truly supporting women in this way. And I'll pass it off to Victoria.
So that's very short. You can read more about the findings in the Canada SCORE report through this QR code or through, in our official website, globalstemwomen.org/SCORE. It is to note that there you can also find the other SCORE reports that you can compare Canada with. And we're hoping to see more participation from programs to provide us more numbers and see our current findings will change over time. Thank you.